Good evening, everyone. Tenzin here. Welcome to tonight's meditation practice. All right, we'll first have a few announcements to make. Anyone here for the first time? No? Welcome. All right, please silence your cell phones. 1, 2, 3. All right, we invite you to join for our weekly Tuesday events with Medicine Buddha practice at 6 p.m. and our public talk at 7 p.m. Next week, for our Tuesday evening talk, Geshe Phende will continue speaking on the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva with the practice of patience. Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m., Venerable Drepung Loseling monks will conduct evening prayers for His Holiness, the Dalai Lama's long life, and other teachers. On Thursdays at 4:30 p.m., our Loseling monks will conduct the Protector Puja for smooth journeys, success of interviews and medical treatments, new businesses, and so on. Our founder and spiritual director of DLM Atlanta, Geshe Lobsang Tenzing La, will be leaving us for a 3-year meditation retreat in India. If you'd like to get your copy of his latest book, Engage Compassion, signed before he leaves, there will be one last opportunity. Geshe La would lead his final Sunday meditation on September 13. September 13. Maybe you can get books for your friends too. Great Christmas gifts. As a reminder, please do not park on the grass, but this is for Sunday. Information on all these events can be found in the lobby and on our website at drepung.org. If you are interested in becoming a member to support our ongoing programs and take advantage of benefits like discounts on courses and retreats, applications are available in the library, or you can also register online. There is a donation box near the entrance of this room. Your generous support helps us continue to offer programs and services like this to our Atlanta community and to those around the world through our online platforms. Now please stand as we invite our resident teacher, Venerable Geshe Phende, to come in for today's practice. Thank you and enjoy.
Okay, now first reciting the mantra of Heart Sutra. We meditate on emptiness. Taya taha gate gate para gate Parasamkate Bodhisoha Tayata Gate Gate Paragate 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 Parasamkate Bodhisoha. Next, the four immeasurables. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachments and hatred. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachments and hatred. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachments and hatred. Mandala offering. Oi sai shi pi ki joy shi ai me to tamari ravali shi ni de ke bati Sangye Shinto Mite Bu Wayi Joy Kuya Nama Daishin La Chaya Pa Guru Ratna Mendra Kamneyataya Me. Okay, so today the teaching is the practice number 26, right? So after you achieved the bodhicitta, and in order to achieve Buddhahood for sake of others, so what kind of path, what kind of practice helps you to achieve enlightenment, Buddhahood, called six paramita, six perfection. So the six perfection, the practice helps to oneself to achieve enlightenment, Buddhahood. So among the six perfection, today is the second one, right? The perfection of ethics. So the last Tuesday we finished the first paramita, which is called the perfection of generosity, that we finish. So today is the second, the perfections of ethics. So these six perfections are really, really the important practice. Even not achieving bodhicitta, so ordinary people also, each of these six perfection practice tremendous benefit to this life and also benefit to the next life. So the Bodhisattvas, one of the reason the practice six parameters, specific today the paramita of ethics, right, discipline, is in order to achieve enlightenment, Buddhahood. It's not just one life you can achieve it. It takes many lives, right, to achieve the Buddhahood. So each of these life, till you achieve Buddhahood, your next lives, one of the important part is it's achieve higher rebirth, right? That if you fall down into unfortunate realms, lower realms, then you cannot continue practice. Like for instance, even born into animal realms, it's impossible to practice bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness. Is impossible. So therefore, Bodhisattvas are planning to till achieve Buddhahood, how long it takes the lives. All of those lives have to achieve higher rebirth. So in order to achieve the higher rebirth, we call precious life, one of the main causes of higher rebirth is moral ethics. So the practice of ethics, moral, is the unique causes of higher rebirth or precious life. That is why they adopt, the parameter of moral discipline, ethics, because one of the reasons is that. So in your present life, remain with a pure ethical life. Not only benefit to your this life, but also your next and next life will born into precious life. So you can continue practice. Your practice can grow higher and higher and higher when you constantly remain with a precious human life. That is why they adopt the second paramita, the paramita of ethics. So this is today's topic. So the first I'm going to recite in Tibetan, which practice number 26, the stanza Suti meper rangdun metubna shindun tuba deba gemene teacher sibi tumba meba yi sutum sunga kese laglehins. Without ethics, you can't accomplish your own well-beings. So wanting to accomplish others is lovable. Therefore, without worldly aspirations, safeguard your ethical discipline. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So each time reading each those stanza, as a Buddhist, not only we study, also in order to receive the we call oral transmission blessing, right? So oral transmission blessing, from since Kadam Geshe Tome Sambo, the Bodhisattva Tome Sambo, he wrote this text. So after he finished the text, he gave that oral transmission to his student after student, right? Continuously. It's an unbroken lineage blessings. So that's why the reciting in Tibetan and English before teaching classes to receive that blessing for you also. So if you receive all the teachings, then you receive all the oral transmission. If you miss few stanza, then you got the missing transmission. That's how it is. So the transmission, there are two. One transmission is just you read it, that one way of oral transmission blessing. Another transmission blessing is not only reading, also receive the commentary, the explanation. So this is oral transmission with the blessing of commentary. So that's why if you miss the few stanza, then also you miss the blessing of commentary also. But anyway, so what is that line? Without ethics, you can't accomplish your own well-beings, right? So without ethics, moral discipline, ethics, you cannot accomplish even your own well-being. So what is your own benefit? Your own benefit is, I mentioned earlier, so your next life to achieve higher rebirth. So enlightenment, Buddhahood, through many lives of higher rebirth with practice constantly, then you achieve Buddhahood. So if you, without ethics, then your next life will not born into the higher rebirth, right? If you're not born into precious higher rebirth, then you cannot continuously practice your dharma, right? If you fall down into the lower realms, then miss your dharma. You cannot. Then you cannot achieve Buddhahood, enlightenment Buddhahood, either self-liberation or Buddhahood. So that's why it is saying you can't accomplish your own well-being, your own benefit, which is liberation, enlightenment, Buddhahood, without ethics, without moral conduct. So, wanting to accomplish others is lovable. So, without achieve even one's own benefit, just wanting to accomplish others' benefit, this is just lovable. It's impossible, right? How can you benefit to others? If you not achieve Buddhahood, right, you cannot lead other beings. So if you fall down into the lower realms, unfortunate realms, how can you help to other beings, right? So that's why it's called wanting to accomplish others. Well-being is lovable. It's not, come truths, right? If you fall down into lower realm, how can you benefit to other people, other beings? It's impossible. That is why ethics, the moral disciplines is really, really important. Therefore, without worldly aspiration, safeguard your ethical discipline. So without worldly aspiration, which mainly attachment to samsara, right? Which usually we call 8 mundane concern. Majority, even many practitioners, we have obstacle is called 8 mundane concern, 8 different types of the attachment. So when you have 8 mundane concern, or 8, sometimes they use 8 worldly concern, so it will obstruct your practice. So the 8 worldly concern there are, which call gain and loss, right? If you gain, you are happy, right? If you lose, you suffer pain, not happy. Then second, pleasure and pain, right? If you achieve pleasure, you're happy. But if you got pain, you suffer, unhappy, right? Then praise and blame. Somebody praise you, you're happy. Blame you, you're not happy, right? Then the next, fame and disgrace, right? If you receive the fame or what you call the reputation, happy, and disgrace, right? You will be suffer, not happy. So these 8 different feelings, it's because of attachment. You attach to the mundane pleasure. That's why all your practice, your ethics, if your practice of ethics comes out of attachment, like worldly concern, then your ethics will never become pure practice, right? Ethics, moral discipline should be without worldly aspiration, without worldly concern, attachments. For instance, when you practice the Dharma, I say you're pretending, I will going to do meditate, right? Your physical posture, sit very nicely, and the deep of your heart, if you're not really carefully, it may have some attachment to, attached to one's own fame, people may think I'm good practitioner, right? So your practice is doing here is supposed to be to antidote to your attachment, but you're doing for receive some fame, some reputation. So when you do this practice, your practice will never become pure practice, right? Any ethical discipline practice, when you do like a monastics as a monk, right? So monk means you receive the monk's vow, monastic vow, right? For the monks, we have novice and full ordination, two different vows, right? The novice has 36 precepts, and the full ordained, which has 253 precepts, right? So when you take the vow, then that person considered as a monk or nun, right? When you do not have that, then you are not a monk or nun, right? So robe is supposed to be, it symbolizes your precepts, your vow, to remind you. You wearing this robe is to remind you, I have a vow, I have a precepts. So that helps to not break your vow. Sometimes we forget it. That's supposed to be reason, right? But sometimes people wear this for sake of, or people think I'm spiritual practitioner, or to get some pay attention in the public, or you can get some reputation or some fame, or people may respect you, or anything, right? You also put the robe. So putting robe doesn't mean monk or nun, right? Today, there are many like that. So that's, you put the robe for sake of your fame or reputation or something, praise or something. If that's, then here saying, therefore without worldly aspiration. So without worldly aspiration, safeguard your ethical discipline. You apply your ethical discipline. So it means put this ethical life for sake of achieve liberation, right? To overcome your destructive emotions. It's not for sake of receive some respect, receive some praise. So when you do that, that's called mundane concern, 8 mundane concern. You attach to your reputation. You attach to the respect. People pay respect to you. Or you attach to your fame. Or sometimes unfortunate, maybe the money, right? People can do that way. So that is why here the stanza saying, therefore without worldly aspiration, right? Without this worldly or attached to the mundane. So we have now today, this time, even not the monk robe, but we have some spiritual robes which people, sometimes they have what you call yogi kind of dress, white shawl, or sometimes people wear that. Then sometimes try to make this hair long and pointy. All kinds of things we have. It's interesting kind of physical appearance. So there are some great practitioners, yogi, the real yogis who have, Vajrayana vows, right? Holder of the Vajrayana vow. Upon that, the really, really higher Vajrayana practitioners, they have the sort of the top of the white rope. But sometimes people just wear it, just wear for just to, maybe I'm not sure, to get some pay attention, or maybe I'm not sure, but doesn't matter. But as a practitioner, I always reminding you, we should focus more inner transformation, inner changeable. Physical appearance, stay simple or common to other people how they live. Try to remain that way. Less obstacle. If your physical too much, try to separate from the society to do something different. Sometimes it may create obstacle. Obstacle doesn't mean external somebody come and do something. Obstacle, which I means internally, some kind of attachment. These 8 mundane concern, very danger. These 8 mundane concern, specific for the practitioner, it comes more, these 8 mundane concern. When these things comes, what they're going to do, it's really disturb your practice. Even you have a delicious food there, somebody, if they put one drop of poison, right, that whole food is damaged. It's not become eatable, right? So all this practice you do, but one kind of these 8 mundane concern, these attachment, soon as when they arises, it comes, it will damage all your practice. So that is why remain always, I saying, transformation internal, invisible. Physically, try to remain really normal. In Tibetan, we used to call Tobal Hada Nyamna Kunju Meta Tunes, which we have one poem. Even your inner realization is same as a deities, devas. You reach that higher level. Physical, your behavior should be remain ordinary human beings behave. That's how they say. So if you remain physically simple, more ordinary life, less ego, less arrogant, less attached to your, what you call praise or anything's 8 mundane concern, less danger, right? That is why always any practice you do, check your intention. When we do some big event, right? Sometime if you're not really carefully, your minds, your intention may pollute it by attachment, attached to your reputation, your fame in the society. One of the biggest problem today our human being we have is attachment. General, they call the 3 different types of the attachment. Most of the human beings suffer. One, attached to the food, right? The food we eat. One, attached to the possessions, cloth, dress, and material. These are the one. Then the one attached to one's own fame, reputation. These three attachments are very common to everybody. Among these three, one of the most danger or the attachment more difficult to get rid of is attached to the reputation. Fame is more difficult, and it comes everywhere. Even saying the monk who remain retreat to solitary, in Tibet used to be most of those caves are on the mountains, right, in the mountain. So they go very high mountains, completely disconnect with the ordinary people, right? They can give up food. They can give up all the possession. They eat very simple food. They remain very simple life, just cave, nothing that much. So they can give up these two attachments, attached to food, attached to possessions. But attached to fame is still difficult. Even who remains on the top of the mountain for decades and decades, it is saying still sometime you have attached to your fame. Maybe in the village down there, people may think I'm the great practitioner. I'm staying on the highest mountain there. So you still have some kind of attached to your fame and reputation. To give up the fame, very difficult. Foods and clothes and possession you can give up. It's very simple life. But you still have attached to your society. People may think I'm a good practitioner. That still comes there. Difficult, right? So therefore, these attachments still disturb. One day, there's one practitioner who remained on the highest mountain. So usually they have sponsors. And so once a while people go there, they sponsor or donors, and they're offering the tsampa, one of the very popular food in Tibet. It's called tsampa. It's the barley flour. They roast it, they grind it, and that kind of flour. It can stay for, years and years. It's a dry flour, so it's easy to, you just put it with the water and some butter or something, you just eat it. And it's really very simple, remain very long without having fridge or anything. You can just leave it in a dry place. It can stay for months, years sometime, right? So this is very popular. So the sponsors and somebody usually maybe giving these, offer those foods, barley, flour, the tsampa, and butters, and sometimes cheese, or these are the one. Most of those people eat that. So once a while the sponsors go there offering like that. So one day that master was meditating and he get the message, say, their sponsors, their donor family will visit next day, tomorrow morning. So he wake up this morning and he gave their little small altar there. He set up beautiful offerings and candlelights and put it there. Then after he seated and meditate, the first we always check the intention, right? Make sure your intention is not mixed with attachment. Then he just think about that. Okay, today why he put some special offering there, right? Today he put special there. Then he realizing because of his donors are coming. So that means his intention is not good. It's attachment to his fame and reputation towards their sponsors, their donors. As soon as he realized that, he go out in his cave, he take the dust from out and he throw those dust on all his offerings. He set up beautifully, he throw all this dust and make everything dirty, right? Then he just put his robe, cover himself, and then he meditate to deal with his attachment, this attachment. And that day, one of the master who has a clearance, who can see others' mind, and that master saw this master done that. So that master told his student, today one of the best offering in Tibet. Today who done that? That master who did one of the best offering, who really threw the dust on his mundane attachment. He really destroyed his attachments. So that's the real practice, right? So therefore, attachment to, it comes everywhere. So for the spiritual practitioner, we really, really need to check up our intention. Make sure it's not mixed with your attachment to your fame. Anything you do, make sure that. That's why in different monasteries have different style. Like our monastery where I grew up, one of the kind of the biggest monastery, right? We are very little monk. Sometimes it's very hard to see the masters are meditating. Very hard to see that. So sometimes people think, oh, monastery means everybody meditating like that. No, very hard to see that. Because they're always pretending, not showing anything, not meditating, like showing that. My own teacher, I've been staying with him with the one room together for decades of, years with him. Very hard to see. Then sometime by accidentally, then we can see them. So as a one time, I have stomach issues. So morning around 3:30, I have to wake up suddenly to go to the toilets. That when I wake up, it's dark in the night. And I see my teacher was seriously meditating in that. So when you wake up morning, he just pretending, just reading the text, study something, never. Then when we go to the debate hall, as a student, we always, 9 o'clock, have to go to the debate to tell 11:30. These periods, then meditation, all this do. So when we come, pretending, not doing anything, it's just little prayers, mantra, that's all. They're not showing serious way. So similarly, one time I was traveling with our 2 senior monks to do the pilgrimage in Lumbini, where the Buddha birthplace. Then same time, one of the early morning, I have stomach issue, I wake up, same the one master is just, we are same room, well, he was meditating with blanket covering completely, meditating that, early morning. Then 6 o'clock or something when we wake up, then just doing prayer, reciting mantra, but never show this. So sometime you may difficult to see. You may think, oh, these are not meditating, but it's not. The number of those practitioners always try to keep secret. Their serious practice, they never show. To try to keep really secrets. That means they are really concerned. Make sure they do not have attached to their fame, reputation. People may, oh, you are great, master, you're meditating every day. They try to avoiding this, to showing this. So it's less attachment, right? So many these practitioners, even they achieve very high realization, they're pretending not knowing anything. They're pretending they behave is exactly the same the ordinary people do. Even you stay with them for decades and decades, some are very hard to know. That's you should understanding because of worry about this 8 mundane concern. So that's how we should understand, the practitioner, which means always saying hidden practitioner, hiddens. You're keeping your private practice as a hidden, less destruction, less danger to grow your attached to your fame and reputation, right? So anyway, now here, so that's why it is saying safeguard your ethical discipline. So without worldly aspiration, without worldly attachment, right? Aspiration means attachment. Without worldly, any 8 mundane concern, then put your practice seriously, ethics, discipline. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. Now here, what is really ethics, right? What's that really means? So usually we call all the monastic vows, right? Which we generally call Patimoksha vow, Bodhisattva vow, and Tantric vow. There are kind of 3 different types. The Patimoksha vow, which what you call the self-liberation. So kind of for the monastics, we have, I mentioned earlier, novice, monks and nuns, and full ordained monks and nuns. For the general lay practitioner, they call Upasika vow. 5 precepts, right? 5 precepts of the vow for the lay practitioner. So the 5 precepts, which are not killing, not stealing, not lying, not sexual misconduct, and no alcohol, right? It's called the 5 shield. So 5 upasika. That's for all the lay, practitioners. When they take the vow, they take this 5 precept vow. So when the Buddha gives the vow, it's depend on each individual's how much they can able to apply. It's not everybody should take this way. That doesn't mean that. It's depend on individual how much you can capable. So if you only do 5, you can take a 5 lay precept. Upon there, if you want to take novice vow, 36 precept of the vow, right? For the full ordination, 253 precepts for the full ordain, right? Then Bodhisattva tantric more things. So it depends on how much. But mainly ethics, right? What is main ethics life? What that really means? I think that's very, very important. So here it is saying what ethical discipline is, right? Ethical discipline is an attitude of abstention that turns your mind away from harming others and from the sources of such harm. That's called the ethics, right? Ethics means mainly attitude of abstention that turns your mind away from harming others and from the sources of such harms. So, for instance, sources from such harm or harming others. For instance, killing is directly harming others, right? You kill them. Stealing is also harming to other people, right? Lying, same. Then source of such harm, which means alcohol, for instance, right? You drink alcohol or any toxins, it's nothing to harm indirectly at the moment to others. But slowly, because of that, you're drunk, right? Your mind's become crazy. Then when your mind's crazy, slowly your behaves going to be negative. Then it may going to harm to other beings, right? So when your mind is completely undisciplined, then your physical behaves become undisciplined. Then it will harm to others. That is why either directly avoiding harming other or source of such harms, avoiding source, something not directly, but because of that, it may harm to others. So you try to avoid. So it's the mind. So mainly the mind away from avoiding or abstention, right? That turns your mind away from harming others. That's called the moral ethics, right? It's the mental things. So here, Lama Tsongkhapa in his Lamrim, in the Lamrim, he says, Lamrim is one of his texts, stages of the path to enlightenment. It's really nice, profound text. There are 3 volumes in English translation. There are 3 volumes. So according to his text, he is saying, hence, whether all living beings in the external world are freed or not freed from harm makes no differences in this context. So whether all living beings in the external world are freed or not free from harms makes no differences in this context. The practice of ethical discipline is just the habituation within your mind, your own mind, to the attitude of abstention, which turns away from harms to these beings. That's called the main ethics, right? Either external world, sentient beings, somebody harms them or not harms them. This is always there. Many people suffer, many beings been, harms each others. That you cannot control it, right? It's all over there. But perfect ethics, complete ethical discipline, what that means? Completion means the practice of ethical discipline is just the habituation, within your own mind, to attitude of abstention, which turns away from harm to those beings. So your mind turn away to harms to other beings. So avoiding to harmfulness to any beings, that's main moral ethics. Ethic practice means that. For instance, Buddha, he's completed, right, the practice of ethics. He completed. But sentient beings, still they're harming. They still suffer many things, right? How can you say completed? It's not about other sentient beings suffer or not. It's mainly your mind. Your mind is completely abstention, or your attitude is completely avoiding to harming to any beings, right? Harmfulness, right? So you are turned away from harm to any beings. So that kind of attitude, that kind of, mind is called moral ethics. That's the main thing. So when you harm to other beings, right? In general, of course, it can create suffering to other beings. That's not good. But from the Buddhist perspective, when you harm to other beings, that action is called karma, right? That action is the karma. So this karma has a many different results, fruition. One result is it's wrapping to next life. What is that? That kind of result is born into unfortunate realms. The realms which have so much suffering, so much problems. You harm them, you suffer them, result, you are going to born into the realm which has too much suffering. That's called lower realms, right? From the Buddhist perspective, hell realm, hungry ghosts, animals realms. These are the three lower realms. Hell realm, right? Hungry ghosts and animals. Hungry ghosts, which means spirit realms, right? There are many spirits. Ghosts, ghosts, all of these are the part of the hungry ghost realms. They have tremendous suffer compared with the human realms. So you will born into there because your action, right? You acted harm to others. Therefore, result, you will going to born into these type of realms, too much suffering. So therefore, ethics, discipline, right? Moral ethics means you try to avoiding that harmful, that, here saying the mind, your own mind to the attitude of abstention which turns away from harm to any beings, right? So your mind is always, you say, okay, when you see something wants to harm, then you intentionally set up, I'm not going to harm them. If you harm them, result, I will going to be suffer. That's the one way to keep your pure moral ethics. Second is, if I'm going to harm them, these sentient beings will suffer. So you concern those beings suffering, that's why you're avoiding harming to them. That's also moral ethics. Mahayana moral ethics. Mahayana way of ethics. You avoiding harming them, because if I harm them, I will going to be born into lower realms, then I will not going to be achieve liberation myself, right? Through your own reason, you avoiding those harmful behave. It's ethics, but it's the Theravada in a way of ethics, moral discipline. It's for sake of you, right? You are scared, concerned to born into unfortunate realms. That's why you avoiding. Both of them are ethics, different reason. One is based on compassion, right? Compassion to others. One ethics is based on self-liberation, self-suffer, worry. That's why you avoiding. So both of them, these are ethics, but are two different way, different. So the Bodhisattvas ethics is the mainly, if I harm them, these beings will suffer, right? You concern their suffering. Second is, it's also effect to me not achieve Buddhahood. If I not achieve Buddhahood, I cannot able to save other beings. So because of those reasons, I avoiding this attitude, right? These are Mahayana ethics. But fundamental ethics, discipline in life, which means it's mainly from the mental to avoiding that. But when you put it into the actions, right, coming into the action, you real harm, killing, stealing, all of these, actual harm. Before in the mentally, you wish to harm, it's not directly harm them, but your mind has kind of wish to harm, right? But that directly is not harm yet. So the main ethics is because harmful action, violent actions come from violent mind, right? Harmful thoughts. If you do not think about harmful or violent, your action never comes violent, right? So ethics have a different way. Main ethic is behaves. So that's why I call 7, non-virtuous action. If you go with the intention, they're called 10 non-virtues, right? 7 of them is the action. 3 is come with the mind. Together, they're called 10 non-virtues. So this practice actually for whole Buddhist, doesn't matter you take vow or not, but as a practitioner, our day-to-day life should remain, pure ethical life, which means avoiding these 10 non-virtuous action, mainly the 7. The 7 which are 3 from your body, 4 from your speech. This is called the 7 physical action. Then when you're including the mind, 3 from your mind. So 3 from your body, which are killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. So at least practitioner always try to avoiding killing any beings, including animals, including any little creatures, right? Avoiding that killing. Because it's directly you're harming to other beings. It's not only destroying other lives, right? It's these actions, also from oneself. One result of this action is your life in the next any time. When circumstances arises, condition arises, when these actions ripen, when they ripen, and the result is unfortunate realms, right? Lower realms. So that is why always, even you do not have pure compassion to this animal, but as a being, you do not want suffer, right? You do not want suffer in this life, you do not want suffer in the future. You do not want to live short life, right? So when you make others short life, you kill them, make them short life, result, your life becomes shorter, right? One of the result. And another result, because of that make them so much suffer, your next life will born into unfortunate lower realms, one of the three unfortunate realms, right? And you kill one time, two times, slowly it becomes your habit. No hesitate to kill. For instance, as a family, if you use harsh word one time, then slowly two times, three times, when you use it, it slowly is becoming habit to use more anytime using harsh word, right? That's how some family, they always have argument, always fighting. And that become even small problem because that habit. So that's the result of that. So each karma has many different results. Result which is makes your life shorter, right? Result which is your future life be born into unfortunate lower realms. Result which is you becoming habituate to kill, not feel hesitate, right? That is why saying avoiding killing any beings. Even you killed it, from deep of your heart you should feel tremendous regret, right? Regret immediately. And confessed. Accidentally, right? When you kill it, soon as when you hear that strong regret, and confess. And then promise, I will not going to do that again. That kind of behave. Then, second is stealing. Anything. Things which is not belongs to you, when you take it, that called steal. Right? Steal doesn't mean somebody there and I steal it. For instance, according to Vinaya, in monastic in a discipline sutra, saying this what you call tax, right? If you have a tax, something you have to pay. If you not pay that, it's also steal, according to the Vinaya. So the things, maybe certain portion of money belongs to either government, either society, or anybody, whoever owns that. So if you not give them, take it yours. If you use by yourself, that's called steal, right? Stealing, which means that. So when you steal these things, then the karma, right? Karma in many different ways to happen. One of the I mentioned earlier, born into unfortunate realms, lower realms. One is born with a very difficult life, difficult to get the foods and shelters, very difficult. You steal them, so the next life, you're very hard to get this, become very poor, right? So there are many other. Then when you steal one time, you like to steal. You have no hesitate. And that's become that, stealing, right? Then sexual misconduct. Mainly sexual misconduct, which means mainly for the husband, is their physical relationship with another wife. As a wife, if she has physical relationship with another husband, that's called the main sexual misconduct. It creates many problems within the family. Everybody disturbs, create suffering, feel uncomfortable. Whole families, broken many others' hearts, pain. That's why you harm them, result your next life, anytime, future life will born into three lower realms. These are the causes, right? Three from your body action. Four from speech means using harsh word. These are very important. Harsh word, if you use one time, you want to use this again and again, specifically with your families. When you stay with a family, sometimes these words become more familiar, more used. Each time when you use it, actually you accumulate it each time to born into the 3 lower realms. Imagine 10 times use, you accumulate 10 karma to born into lower realms. Right? It's really danger. Buddha was so much, focused in his lifetime. The number of beings who born into horrible, painful life. Buddha blessed them and talk. So some of the animals. Then when they talk about that, and they say, in the one of the past life, I used this word. That's why I born into this way now. So one animal has 16 or 17 different hats, and he has so much pain from all these different hats. So finally they say, because when he was in the human, he was using some other monks say, you are dog, you are cat, you are blah, 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 all these animal names. So each time when you saying, you accumulate the karma to born yourself. So all these many different animals had because of his karma. So there are many kind of the story about these things. Some people very, very difficult life because of the actions, the karma they use in the past. So harsh word, telling lie, gossip. Gossip is saying is not very bad like a harsh word, but it's more danger. More danger, why? Because gossip is actually, we use quite oftenly, many times. That's why it's danger. We always be gossiping, right? Anytime when they gather, we talk about this guy, blah, blah, this person, blah, blah, blah. Then we talk behind them, this, blah, blah. All this is nothing benefit, but it's become kind of the human's ritual. Always when they gather, you have to talk that way, right? Each time when you're saying these things behind the other people, you're accumulating karmas. So that's why I say it is not directly, but it's indirectly, or it's oftenly we're using that. Therefore, it is danger to oneself to born into this unfortunate life. Then, slander, divisive words. Slander or the divisive word, usually it's really one of the very danger or worse negative karma. Slander, which means if there's 2 persons there, friend or families, you go to the one guy and say, this guy is doing something, blah, blah, blah. All those bad things telling them. Then the other guys, you go there telling, oh, this is bad, blah, blah. You go to the husband saying your wife is so bad, blah, blah, blah. You go to the wife, tell your husband is so bad, blah, blah. Finally, they split it up, right? They divide it. Either individual, either family, either society. Even the monastic used to have this. Eventually ended up the 2 different groups. And when the monastics, when they ended up 2 completely divided 2 groups, it is saying so very danger. In those places, it is saying, in those places when you try to meditate, you cannot achieve any realization. This place is so negative energy. This spell in those regions, that danger. So that is why best thing is make harmony. As a family, harmony. Friendly. At least don't divide them. Don't split them. Together, it's benefit. as a family, as a society, when the gathering is benefit to each members, every beings, right? As a nation, if everybody harmony very good, everybody benefit, success. When they split it up, result, they all suffer. Each individual will suffer, right? In the society, when there's so much divided, result, every member in the society will suffer. That's called you harm them, right? So if you can, make unity, harmony. As a family, as a society, any groups, that harmony is very good. So that is why, as saying, avoiding these 7 non-virtuous action is the moral ethical life, right? Then upon the 3 from your mind, covetedness, which is attachment, harmfulness, which is your anger, and wrong view. Wrong view, which is mainly the view who's not believing on law of karma, right? Oh, there's no karma, whatever you want, you should do it, right? So that's the wrong view, because wrong view create many problems. So if you're not believing in any karma, then you can steal, you can do anything. As long as other people don't know, you think I'm okay now, right? So that's problem. Become very dishonest person. So when you have karma, even people know or they do not know, karma will judge me. Makes you so honest. Either they are people or not, doesn't matter, right? And reality it is. Everything's depend on each own causes. Every result coming from causes. Without cause, there's no result, right? Every result. That's what the karma. So therefore, these are the 10 non-virtuous action. So mainly abstention, right? Avoiding these 10 non-virtuous action. That's the moral ethical life. At least as a Buddhist, you day to day, even you take a vow or not, right? Take vow or not, at least follow this 10 non-virtuous action, avoiding, 10 non-virtuous action makes your life more peaceful, more disciplined. When your physical life is disciplined, it's easier to discipline your mind, mental discipline, right? When your mental is disciplined completely, your wisdom has more chance to grow. When your mind is wild, so much destruction, wisdom, very difficult to grow that. That's why in order to finally, we need to grow the wisdom. In order to grow the wisdom, you have to discipline your mind, concentration. In order to discipline your concentration, the mind, you have to discipline your physical life. That's called ethics, moral ethics. So the moral ethical life, physical discipline, and mainly focus on try to avoiding from harming to other beings, right? They call attitude of abstention which turn away from harm to any beings. That's the moral discipline. So practitioner first started from there. So when you really use this, and this practice shouldn't come from your 8 mundane concern, right? It always, without 8 mundane concern, then your practice will go directly inward to antidote to your attachments, your destructive emotions, right? That is why this stanza 26, right? So the moral ethics why this is important, what is the ethics. So every practice for the Buddhists, any practice, the basic ground is moral ethics. If you have ethics problem, discipline problem, then rest of the practice will definitely never success. All this practice started from the moral ethics. So it's mainly the mind, right? And then physical disciplinings. So these are the ethics. Okay, so today going to stop here. We finish 26 practice, now 37, which means we have still 11 different practices left there. So but the important part is when you're understanding the essence of the practice, main thing, then these little branches here, there is not that much big problem. When you do not know the core, the main things, and little things here, there, make little wrong here, mistake, you're very concerned, you very much focus in the branches. When you lost the main and just holding the branches, it's not that much benefit. When you really hold the main practice, main thing, little branches here, there, some move here, there, it's not that much disturb your practice. That is why, as a practitioner, before you start any practice, you really need to understand first the main practice. What is this? What is the purpose of that? What the main practice of this? So when you know that, and it makes your practice become so effective, means really helps you. So not knowing the real one, and then little branches holding that, and here follow with these things, it's not that much benefit. Little merit you accumulated, but merit comes and goes. If you do not know how to take care, it can go. So that is why first understand each of these practices. Before you start the practice, it's very important to know. Specific during the younger generation, you are healthy, you can go, you can listen, learn as much as. When the time comes, you retire, your mind is also a little bit dull, right? It's a little bit dull. So lack of, more difficult to understand. And that time when you start to try to learn, it's more difficult. So when you are healthy mind, study, even you do not have time to practice, learn as much as you can. When you get the time, when you apply your practice, you know what is this practice. It's much easier, right, to apply that. So that's why the study dharma is really important. Okay, so now we conclusion doing the Mani mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme. And thus, honorable, compassionate gurus, we seek your blessings that all karmic debts, obstacles, and sufferings of mother beings may be without exception wrapping upon us right now, and that we may give our happiness and virtues to others, and thereby invest all beings in bliss. And thus, honorable, compassionate gurus, we seek your blessings that all karmic debts, obstacles, and sufferings of mother beings may without exception wrapping upon us right now, and that we may give our happiness and virtues to others, and thereby invest all beings in bliss. Oi te na chi tsu lai mai tu chi ai mai ju doi ve ti tu nge ma lu da lai mi pa ta da ji de Geshe lai ta wa yi toi kui de ta de ba ji ji lo toi kui de ta de ba ji ji lo chanchu simcho rinpoche ma che pa nam che chu chi che pa nyam pa me pa yang kong ne kong do pe wa sho. May the precious and sublime Bodhicitta not yet born be born, and that which has been born not decline, but increase forever. Okay, thank you very much.